Today, you guys, I want to talk about the differences between hack and squirt and hinge cutting, and not really which one is the best, but which one is the best for like your case on your property because it's different for everyone. For me personally, I use both and I like both because my grandparents' property needs both of them, and they're both great practices just for better overall habitat improvements. Right here is an area that I just hack and squirted yesterday. So it's about, I want to say, 100 yards by 75 yards width. This is an area that has regrowth and has, browse, but I want to do it to where this will hold one deer per this 100 by 75 to where I can triple that and have 3 deer come in here and browse this out to where there'd still be enough for even more deer. So I want it to hold as many deer as possible in this area. And you can hinge cut for better improvement on your tree health, because right here they have literally like 7 trees within 10 feet of each other. If you wanted better growth from one tree, what you do is take out, I'd say 7 of those trees that are right here and leave 2 of them. You want to space them out 5 to 6 feet. And what that will do, because whenever those trees are right next to each other, that one tree is going to be taking all the growth and wanting to grow out bigger and bigger, but now they're both stalled out because they don't have enough nutrients to pull in from the roots. So now if you take that one tree out, it doesn't have to deal with the other tree, and it can grow to its true potential. And doing that will improve the growth around the area, because taking out those 7 other trees, yes, you still have that one tree that's growing up to get bigger, but those 7 other trees that are taking up that sunlight, now there's going to be regrowth for deer and all the other animals in the woods. For my case, on my grandparents' property, on this spot, I basically took out all the hickories in this 100 yards by 75 yard area because I want this to be a true deer bedding area where there's just going to be all this sunlight coming in and just deer bedding heaven. So I want this to be a spot where the deer feel safe and secluded, because at the moment we have those spots on the property, but we just don't have enough of them, and I want it to be kind of like where I know where these deer are going to be bedded, because we have those spots but we don't have enough of them. I just want to improve the overall habitat and the regrowth, because right now, the growth in here is minimal to maybe slightly good in some spots, but every spot around this 100 by 75 yard area, there's trees, these hickories, these shagbark hickories, there's 5 in a 2-foot area, and I'm just wanting to get rid of all of them because it's just hogging up that sunlight where it's not able to come through, and deer browse on the ground. It doesn't matter about the trees. It has to be on the ground. So I just want this to be a spot where it's just going to get nice and thick in here, because there's been studies where they'll put literally a fake deer and they'll put it in an open area where it's, say, like up where there's pines and they take up all the sunlight and it's just all pine thickets where no sunlight gets in. They put a deer in there, the decoy, and you can see it from 200 yards away. Now, say you hack and squirted all those trees that are in that area, and then a year later came back, you put that deer in that same spot, you're not going to be able to see it all the way through there. A deer's not going to want to bed in that open area. So overall, what you want to do is improve the habitat, because when a deer is in a thick area, they feel safe, secluded from predators, people, hunters, and they can bed down there without a problem, and you know that they're going to be there whenever you go to your stand. I usually, on what I did yesterday, it was about 1 hack per 2 to 3 inches. So in this tree, it's about a 5 to 6 inch tree in diameter. So I think I did about 3 in this one. Overall, I think hack and squirt's a good method, but don't get overrun with it, because you can mess up your hunting parcel by just going around and hacking every tree in a single area. That's not going to work, unless in instances where you're going around and just hacking all the shagbark hickories in this area, because I mean, we have a few oaks here and there in this little pocket of 100 by 75, but nothing crazy. It was just mainly shagbark hickory. The other one, hinge cutting, I did that last year, and at the moment I didn't have a chainsaw that was working, so I was just using a little handsaw, and I was only getting trees about maybe 6 inches in diameter and less. And then this past winter, chainsaw was working, sharpened, and I went through probably a 50-yard length area by 30 yards wide, and basically cut mainly a lot of hickories and just folded them over. And now I'll show you guys videos. I have a couple of videos in my camera roll. There's nice regrowth coming from the trees, and then whenever you hinge that tree and then you have the base of it and then the end of it is folded over, at the base of it you might have some regrowth growing. On a couple of trees I have videos where it's just grown up with natural sunlight vegetation from the trees. And then mainly all of them survived. I messed up on maybe 2 or 3 that I messed up on the cut where it was going down and then it landed against another tree, so it kind of got stuck, so I just had to cut all the way through it, and then it ended up falling at that moment. But that's a good way to make some quick and easy bedding for deer, but you don't want to go too crazy because a deer has to be able to move around in there and feel like they got an escape route, an entry route, so you don't want to just fold trees over and then say it's good. You're going to want to go in there. If you do it during the winter time, go in during the summer with the chainsaw, cut some little paths so they can go around through there. Last month, actually, I was back in there, and there's a little baby fawn bedded up in some nice cover that was in there, so it's a good little area that I made back in there, because before, it was just the trees were cover up everything, and it was probably the worst spot on the property where there's just nothing for the deer to eat. And that made a nice little bedding area spot for the deer now. Obviously, both have their risk, but mainly hinge cutting, you got to be pretty careful. I honestly had some pretty sketchy encounters with it whenever I was cutting, where I would cut and then it would lay against a tree and I'd have to go all the way through it. And that was a little scary, but with hinge cutting, it's pretty easy. You just got to have gloves. I wear long sleeves. I forgot to wear long sleeves, and that was my fault, but mainly just gloves, I would say, and then a nice little hatchet to whack through there. Both have their benefits, and I think both are a great choice, but whenever you're doing them, you got to look at your property specifically and say which one works best for it, because they're both similar practices in a way, but they're both a little different when it comes to how the cover is made and what space you're going to have with everything around that. If you guys have any questions about hinge cutting or hack and squirting, just leave them down in the comments. I'm sure I probably forgot a couple things that I wanted to mention, but hopefully you guys like this video, and hopefully you can use one of these on your hunting property, because it will make your hunting property a lot better, because it's going to give the deer the food they need. For me, making browse is more important than making food plots. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys can incorporate one of these methods on your hunting property, because it will bring in the deer a lot better, because it's going to make that browse, and then they're going to eat it, because the deer's diet is probably 60 to 70% browse, so it's going to bring the deer in for you and overall make your land a lot better for the habitat. So thanks for watching, you guys.